Awesome. Hey everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining. Ask everything about facilitation. Where Arunvignesh from Triscom. Just as a virtual meeting etiquette, just use a Q&A for any questions. You can use the chat as well. Now that we have tested chat, you should be able to post your questions there. I will be a moderator for today's session, so I can take up the questions. I can convey to Arun for better way of like consolidating the questions and answering. So hope you all are able to access a chat, I believe. You can also use a Q&A if whichever is convenient for you. And so a little bit about TriScrum. So it's an organization which provides, their mission is to humanize organizations by helping them become fully capable and resilient. And so various certifications has been provided, coaching sessions are there, blogs. You can also contribute to blogs, and you can visit triscrum.com to know more about it. So then there is a TriScrum Studios is where you all have enrolled for the session. And I'm a community enthusiast who is taking care of TriScrum Studios portion of it, scheduling the sessions. So every week we are hosting sessions, so you should be able to see it in Meetup. So we have two Scrum Master Studio for Bangalore and India, and Product Owner Studio as well. So about the speaker, Arunvignesh Ramachandran is a dedicated trainer and coach specializing in building resilient teams and organizations. So Harun is a highly qualified professional Scrum trainer from Scrum.org and a certified Scrum Alliance trainer from Scrum Alliance. And also he is also like involved in IC Agile accredited Agile coaching and enterprise Agile coaching. So Arun comes up with 15 years of experience in software development and delivery, including roles such as business analyst, scrum master, and agile coach. So Arun has a deep understanding of agile methodologies and also about distributed team dynamics. So he works with multiple banks and consulting firms. So apart from the professional side of Arun, so he's based out of Coimbatore, India, and he enjoy spending time with his family and friends, exploring the great endeavors, and going out driving or all his hobbies. So we are happy to have you here, Arun, and hope the session will be useful to our participants. So with
Yeah,
that said, I will hand it over to you. Uh, Proceed with it.
thank you. Thank you for an overwhelming introduction. Yeah, let's start then. Welcome everyone who have joined on a Thursday evening. Um, I hope everyone would have been a little tired at the end of your working day. Let me just share my screen and then start asking some questions. Right. So we're going to start off with. Yeah, let's start with something. I know it's all about facilitation. Let's start with something. What is not facilitation? So please use your chats to put some thoughts. So I'm going to read your chats as well. Try and think of what is not facilitation. Whatever comes to your mind. Yeah.
I hope everybody is able to access the chat.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. So we're using the chat to answer the question, what is not facilitation? You can also use the Q&A window if the chat is not accessible to you guys. So maybe I'll just create a post. What is not
I think a couple of people are typing in chat.
typing? That's fine. Yes, cool. So I've just posted what is not facilitation. You can even reply there if you want. Um, yeah.
Okay, I think Sumalada have said without moderator, it will be a chaos
Okay,
discussion.
chaos discussion is not a facilitation. Fair enough. Fine. What else?
Okay, we got one more from Sri Hari. The task which we can do can't be given to others.
Okay, makes sense. What else? Yes, someone said
Okay,
bossing around. Yes, that's a
being
nice
a
way to be
judge.
judge. Absolutely, being a judge, bossing around. Um, yeah, not giving everyone a chance to speak their thoughts. Being arrogant. Okay, person who's being arrogant. Improper language. Okay, fair enough. Nice. Monologue. More one person speaking. There is a ton I could say. Thanks, Maru for saying that. Encouraging one-sided conversation is not facilitation. Cool. So now we've got a fair understanding of what not facilitation is. Now let's go and understand what a facilitation is. What is facilitation? Now let's hear thoughts from you guys. What is facilitation?
Okay, encouraging others to actively participate is a facilitation. Trying to help to resolve or complete a task.
Okay. Someone sending the agenda for intended participants. Moderator who can make discussion happen with a specific agenda and time bound. Nice. Yes. Masterful orchestration of the minds in the room. Nice. Yes. That's fantastic. Yes. Moderating the discussion. Yeah. Okay. Moderating the discussion. Yes. Less poetically, just get into the back and let the people make progress. Yes. Just getting into the back and let the people progress. Not deviating from the fest, not deviating from the discussion. No distractions. Nice. One more point, and then I'm gonna reveal what International Association for Facilitation has to say about facilitation. Protecting the minds in the room, good thoughts, no distractions, fair enough, right? Let's get on to the point. What is facilitation? This is I've taken this from International Association of Facilitator. So with a specific context, facilitation is an intervention, right? So what they say is like facilitation is a process, right? As a facilitator, assume that now you're all facilitators, right? Then you as a facilitator who has to be acceptable by all the parties who are present in the room as and then who is substantially neutral. What does that mean? Let's take for an example. In a typical, the most popular framework Scrum, let's take an example. We call Scrum Master a facilitator. One of the stances that Scrum Master takes is facilitator. Now, as a Scrum Master, what they I'm not talking about the industry, how you what you do exactly. You might have some delivery responsibilities, accountabilities. What a typical Scrum Master Scrum talks about is they as a neutral person, right? Scrum Master is a neutral person who doesn't take any sides on the participants who are there in the any event. For an example, let's take for an example sprint planning. For an example, right? There are who are the participants. Let's take for an example, you have the product owner, you have the developers, everyone available, and they're gonna do the planning, right? Now, Scrum Master is someone who's neutral there. In case when I say neutral, neutral to the participants, he or she is not going to take sides of product owner or the developers. Being a neutral person, trying to get the information as is, whatever the things that is coming out in the room, and then trying to see how everyone comes out and then talks without any hesitation, right? And then also they don't have any hold on the content, what is emerging. It is up to the people to come and emerge what the discussion is, right? Cool. So that's what it is. Now, who has no authority to tell, hey, you know what, you're doing it wrong or doing it. you should not, this is not the way to do the facilitate or to do the planning. It's more of you holding up a process to say everyone understands the objective, and then they're going to come up with some thoughts, the emerging thoughts. They might come up with some issues, they might come up with some solutions, absolutely neutral to those things, whatever emerging out of this, but trying to ensure that every thing that is emerging is being discussed. It's not like you're belittling, you know what, this is not the right discussion, this is not the right information that you got to give. Even though it is a good or bad information that is coming out, try to weigh that information that is coming out as a neutral person, so that the person who's giving the information is feeling that, you know what, I belong here. We call that as psychological safety as well, right? I belong here, I can participate, I can discuss. So that's what we mean by neutral person there, right? Without saying anything about the content or about the or being biased about persons. And also one more thing is like trying to help the group or the team improve on identifying the issues that they're going to talk about, right? Identify the decisions how they're going to make, and also try to help them solve the problems that they're coming up with by themselves. You as a scrum master is not going to solve any of the problem, not going to identify any issue if you're taking a facilitator stance. Make sense? So that's why I said Scrum Master's one of the stances facilitation stance. And using that, you're going to emerge the thoughts from the entire group and make everyone feel comfortable that they can talk about it. They're gonna, as a group, they are gonna decide their what is the agenda for this conversation, how are they gonna emerge this conversation, and you're just gonna hold up the process, ensuring that everyone talks and there is a common decision making happening and moving towards a solution. That's what we mean by facilitation with respect to facilitation as an intervention. I hope that helps everyone. As you all said, unbiased discussion, being neutral, and then some of you had a very good point, like you take the back seat and then let the team drive. What does that mean? That the team drives the content, whatever that is emerging. You're not bringing the content from there to the event as a facilitator, right? And someone said masterful orchestration of minds in the room. Absolutely. So you're going to orchestrate the minds in the room, whatever thoughts that is there in that, even though when they're empty, by provoking some conversations, giving them opportunity, let them speak their mind. That's the opportunity that we're giving, right? Cool. So we set the context, facilitation. Now I'm going to slowly move to the next thing. So many people come to the classes of Scrum Master workshops, or I go for consultations. I see them struggling with facilitation. There are core reasons that I find them uh, struggling with their facilitations is that they either have multiple accountabilities other than the Scrum Masters or a facilitator. They might either be in the team, they might be contributing something there, so they have a conflict of interest in their mind, which is not allowing them to be the true themselves by being neutral. That's the first thing. And next thing, whatever I observed is that as a facilitator, they feel that they need to give something in the event. That's when they will be felt respected, or that's when people will respect them. Unless, if I'm just there as a person, I'm just asking questions, I'm not giving any answers to people, some of you feel insecure that I'm not giving the right information, I'm not being valued here. So that's the second inhibition that the Scrum Masters have. Two things. The third thing is like not having trust in the team, or you have a feeling that unless until I give information, people will not go in the right direction. So these are the top reasons that we have. I don't know what survey it is. It is from one of the surveys from facilitation groups. These are the top most thing that has come out as facilitators struggling to do the right facilitation, right? So that's how can you not getting trapped in one of these three things. It is easier said than done. So we call this as facilitator mindset, right? If you're able to embody this mindset as a facilitator intentionally, right, then you would be able to move towards the right path towards facilitation. The first thing is group focus. The focus is not on you. Am I being respected? Do I need to add value to this conversation? Will people respect me if I don't give the information? Leave all your inhibitions. Completely move the focus from you as a person there as in the group or in the event to the group, right? They are there. I'm going to facilitate as a neutral person. I'm going to make everyone collaborate. I'm going to make everyone contribute. Even the silent person in the room, even the lowest authority person in the room is going to come out and then give their thoughts, give their points, right? So you there as an open person, just curiously listening to whatever people are asking and then trying to acknowledge the thoughts of individuals and then moving on, right? So that's a group focus. Next thing is believing in the group. This is the very toughest thing to do. Believing in the group that they are doing the right thing, even if they fail, even if you know they're not in the right direction. Holding your thoughts and then believing in the group that they would do the right thing, right? Which means you're believing that they have all the information, they are resourceful, they are creative, and they have the right focus, right? So maybe here is where you can you got to see how you can hold yourself even if they fail, right? So someone I guess there is a famous saying in the agile world is fail fast or something like that. At the start of your career, allowing your teams as a scrum master, even though they're failing, allowing them to fail and then helping them an opportunity to get an opportunity to learn is a good thing, right? So try to see how you can do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys in this next 30 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm going to give you some techniques to see how you can embody this facilitator mindset, right? That's where you're heading into. Okay, to start with, the philosophy that I'm going to bring in is like Venkat brought this in the philosophy for scaling last time. I'm going to take the same philosophy. To hold up a facilitator mindset, you need to know what are the facilitation principles. Are there any facilitation guidelines? Are there any known patterns that has been proven successful in the facilitation world? Right? Then you can use all your techniques. Whatever you know, there are so many techniques that you can bring into the world, bring into your facilitation, but that's the last thing that you're going to bring in. Right? If I'm not wrong, typically when we think of facilitation, the first thing that we think is what is the technique that I'm going to use this in this event. Rather than that, I want you guys to flip the coin, and then think of what are the principles. How am I going to embody some principles which is going to make the event purposeful? What are the guidelines that are going to abide by so that everyone can participate, everyone can contribute, etc., etc. Everyone can feel safe as well to contribute, right? Then you can identify the patterns, right? With that said, I'm going to start off with 5 facilitation principles that we are bringing in here. These, so if you see here in this philosophy, the level of abstraction at the principle level is high, which means it would be up. It is like a generic thing. It will be applicable for almost 99% of the facilitation that you're going to do, irrespective of the facilitation. It doesn't mean it's a Scrum sprint planning, retrospective, or not even Scrum events. Any event that you're facilitating, these 5 principles, what I'm going to explain, is going to be applicable irrespective of the event. That's why the level of abstraction is high, which means it'll be applicable to the highest level. Probably next level is guidelines. The guidelines depends on certain context. So you need to know what context are you in. Based on that, you change certain guidelines, right? Let's say for an example, if you're facilitating, if you need to facilitate a session, now the context is that you need to it is like a team starting event or a team startup event. All the team members are new, you've hired a new team, all sorts of things. That's the context. Now this context will determine what is the guidelines that you're going to use. Is this before facilitation guideline or after facilitation guideline, right? You think of that as a thing, and then you narrow down a bit more, right? Principles will apply for irrespective of whether it is a startup event or a retrospective event. That doesn't matter, but guidelines would slightly vary based on the context, right? Next thing is your patterns. What technique are you going to use? What are the things that has been eventful or successful may vary. So that's more specific. Patterns are more specific. whereas principles are more abstract. It is going to applicable for almost all the events, right? Let's get on to principles. Now, these are the 5 principles. It start with, I'm going to start from an, if it's a clockwise, if I'm not wrong, yes, clockwise, I'm going to start from the process, sorry, purposeful. Purposeful is like try to identify a clear objective for every event that you're facilitating. Someone said uh, in a facilitation, someone who's sending the agenda for the event is one of the things as a facilitator. Yes, it is a good thing to start off with an agenda, understanding what is that event is all about, what is that the meeting is all about that you're going to facilitate. Try to give people some sort of a starter in their head. Hey, this event is all about this. There is a conflict. We're going to go and solve this conflict. There is an issue that we're going to solve it. Or if you say, you know what, we are going to start up with a product idea, we come up with as many ideas as possible, give some context. So that at least they have some prep thoughts in their mind. And then you can also bring in techniques or guidelines based on the context that you're getting in, right? That's the clear focus. To get a clear focus, identify a purpose, or even if you could not identify, if it's an ad hoc event, ad hoc meeting, start with the purpose of the event so that people will get to know what is the focus of this event, right? That's the first thing. Next thing is try and see how you can make everyone participate, right? I typically ask this question to some of my colleagues. So have you ever tried to dance with someone who has zero interest in dancing with you, right? So if you have happened to do so, right, you can post that in the chat, right? So maybe I'll take that you might have done it, right? You might have done some facilitation, or you might have done some in an event where your friend or colleague doesn't have any interest in dancing with you, but you try to make them dance. Or you might have been the other side of the things. They might be trying to dance it. It is the same with the minds of individuals. When they are not willing to participate in an event or not understanding what that event is, when they feel that they are not comfortable in the event, I'm going to club this healthy and participatory together, right? When they don't feel safe enough, they're not going to dance with your insights, right? Someone said orchestrating the minds of people, right? That's very, very powerful. You need to see how you can make everyone comfortable in the room so that they are able to participate, right? Now I see someone posting some questions and thoughts here. That itself is a level of psychological safety that they have because they can ask something in the room. So you need to give that psychological safety in the room, making that healthy, and then through that you're going to make everyone participate, right? So 3 things done. Next is visibility, trying to get some collective thoughts coming into picture. So we have a purpose. Now everyone trying to bring their own thoughts. Now you put those thoughts in a transparent way, or gather those information in an open space where everyone can visually see it. If it's a virtual event, try to use some virtual tools. If it's a physical event, try to use some boards, whiteboardings and stuff like that to make it visible. What are they discussing on? How are the thoughts coming in? Because people can relate to certain thoughts and then they can discuss it as well, right? Now, last thing is process. This is what I said, facilitation as a process. You're going to hold up a process of ensuring that all these 4 are there. The participating things, there is a purpose and they are feeling safe enough and they have transparent information in the room, right? So these are the five facilitation principles that is a must for any facilitation, irrespective of whether it is a Scrum event or an Agile event or not even an Agile event, any meeting go into. This helps, right? 5 facilitation principles. Now I'm slowly getting into the next thought, which is like your some sort of a guideline perspective, right? Now, the guidelines is like any facilitation. Again, there are 2 parts to facilitation. We call this as facilitation arc. You need to understand the facilitation arc as well. The arc starts with planning, which is like before facilitation. The grayer box is before facilitation. The dark blue boxes are probably during facilitation. So you need to see how you can bring these 5 values into picture before facilitation as well. Like as a facilitator, I'm going to think how I'm going to make the team participate, how I'm going to have the team have a purpose, how I'm going to make the team feel safe. Hey, this is a new event or a new team. They're not going to come and comfortably speak with everyone. So maybe can I use anonymous tools to gather everyone's thoughts when they are there in the event? So you're planning beforehand to make everyone participate, to make everyone feel safe. So that's sort of an event, right? And sending up some objectives. What is the event? That is again, you're planning to set the stage upfront before even start of the event, right? Makes sense. That's what we mean by you having some guidelines for that certain events for specific context. You understanding the context and then trying to set some guidelines. Maybe let's assume that there is one more context coming emerging. There is a conflict in the team. Two members are always having conflicts in the room. You're going to get into a retrospective and you feel that this needs to be uh, um, coming into the retrospective discussion. You probably you set that as a guideline and then you trying to say, hey, you know what, this retrospective, we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects, which is people and relationship aspect in the team. That's the agenda that we're going to focus on. Make sense? So those sort of planning ahead, which will help you move towards the right facilitation. Right. So I talked about the context. I'm just going to hold up here. There are some few thoughts coming in. I'll take those thoughts and then I'll try to. I guess Maru has come up with some thoughts. Is there a question or a thought? Suganya, if you could look into that.
Yeah, it's more of a thought about
More of a thought for the
guidelines. Yeah.
guidelines. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yes, thanks, Maru. I'm just trying to see guidelines and some guardrails when necessary to the goal. Absolutely, trying to put some focus towards the conversation. Say, let's say for an example, you have just a 15-minute event that you will have, then probably setting up the stage much ahead and then trying to see everyone can participate within the 15 event, trying to bring some tools and techniques additionally so that the context is taken care, right? Cool. Preparing the room, everything. Cool. Thank you. Right. Now getting on to the next event, coming to patterns. I'm going to give examples. So patterns are proven examples, right, in facilitation, right? So most of the things coming from the book called a Participatory Guide for Facilitative Thinking. It's a very good book if you wanted to read. That's the first book, if I'm not wrong. I read when I started my career as a Scrum Master, suggested by one of my mentors. At that time, I hardly understood most of the things, but I still remember those things that is still there. Right, there are proven books available which has some patterns which you can use to know for what situation can I use this. Let's take for an example working agreements. Most of you would have used working agreements, right? So working agreements is a sort of a stuff that you can use at the start of any teams that is going to start up, right? Or if you feel that the certain teams are getting into chaos, they're not going to collaborate well, probably working agreements works. So these are some of the contexts that you can use these working agreements, right? So it's a good pattern that you can use to ensure that people are relying back to this working agreements whenever they deviate from certain points, right? Certain things. Next thing is divergent thinking. Any facilitation, divergent thinking is a very good thing to do it because people are going to. This is where people are going to participate without any hesitation. You're going to keep an open space where we give a prompt like, "Hey, whatever comes to your mind, come and paste it." We don't care whatever information that comes in. That sort of a open space that you're going to give it to them. Divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is a very good pattern that you can use for people to make participative, right? Next thing is grow and zone. I don't know how many of you have heard about this. It's a troubling zone. If at any point in your facilitation felt that there are so many thoughts coming in, I could not make the team move towards a decision making. People are sticking to their own points. They're rooting for their own points. 5 people sticking to 5 points in an event is a very good pattern that you can observe, that you have made that event very psychologically safe because people are challenging each other, challenging each other thoughts, and they're rooting to their own points. This is a very difficult zone for a facilitator to move out, but you can be sure that you've made that event a very, very psychologically safe event, because they are in a conflict about their thoughts, not about people, not with people, right? That's what we call it as a grow on zone, right? Next thing is, when you're in a grow on zone, how do I get out of this grow on zone? This is where the decision making rules, similar to working agreements, but having some decision making rules would help. An example, you know what, if the if you are talking about a product decision, right? Product owner has to take a decision about products, you know that. Now the decision making rule is, the person in charge will take the decision by gathering thoughts from everyone, which means you as a facilitator are going to help the team developers probably pour as many thoughts as possible, but the product owner will take whatever thought that is making sense for them. So the decision making rule there is, a person in charge will take a decision. Maybe a different case, a board meeting, there are board of directors available there, and then they need to take a strategic direction towards the strategic direction for the company. Now you can put it like, you know what, there has to be an unanimous decision or at least a consent. The decision making rule is, we are going to do an unanimous decision. Probably that's another thing. Maybe one more thing is like, you can put it like, hey, you know what, with with respect to the time, we have very limited time. So what we're going to do is, we're going to put up a time box. So whatever things, we can put it like majority vote. When there is a conflict, you go for a majority votes. So at least we can move away from those things. That's a decision making rule, right? Now, last thing is convergent thinking, which is pretty much in line with the decision making rule. So you try to either go for a majority votes or flip a coin and then try to make people converge to our thoughts, right? With that note, I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to take some questions, right? So go on, let's see if there are any questions, and you can post your questions as well from now on. Probably we have about 20 minutes to take questions. Yeah, I'm just opening up for
Yeah,
questions. Go on, Sugani.
yeah, and
Yes.
so it's a new term called grown zone.
Yeah.
Even this is the first time I'm hearing that. Since the last slide is about pattern, so Suma Lada has a question for you. So in a group of more than 10 people in a room,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some people is always, going to be shy. So it is hard to go one by one, which also consumes a lot of time, and you can't close a meeting on time. So how to like navigate through those scenarios through facilitation? I think that's what Sumalada have asked.
So, Sumalata, what I'm going to do is, so your intention is great, which is like, you're going to ensure that the principle of participation needs to be there, right? That's your thought. I'm going to link everything there, right? Now, next thing is, this is the principle that you want to take care. Now, next thing is, you have the guidelines. What are the guidelines? What is the event is all about, right? Give some context to that event. Now, third thing is, let's take for an example, if that event is a retrospective event and you have only very limited time and you need to get some action items out, and you know that there are certain people that are going to sign. This is where you're going to play around with your techniques to find a pattern which is going to work, right? The techniques could be like, hey, you know what? We're not going to go one by one, which is going to take time. Everyone will talk about their thoughts. It's going to take time. Now, let's quickly, if it's a physical event, which is very good, use some sticky notes or something of that sort. Try to have 1 minute self reflection of whatever comes to their mind, and then let them put it, right? Let them not reveal it. You don't have to come and they don't have to come and put it there if you feel they're going to shy. What you say is like, hey, you're going to keep your thought written there and then just give it to me on a randomly. I'm going to shuffle and then I'm going to paste it there. No one is going to know who's going to give their thought, which thought is who, from who, which person. I'm not going to tell anyone like that. Just give that assurity for people if you feel there are shy people in the room. Makes sense. That itself is an opportunity to get that thought from them. This is one, right? Same way, virtually it is pretty easy. No one is going to know who's going to bring the thought, which is, there are tools like Mural, Miro, a Mentimeter. There are so many tools that are there in industry, even something like Survey Monkeys. There are so many tools available now, which you can make anonymous thoughts coming into the coming to the board, right? So try to bring that within give it a time box and let people give their thoughts. That's how you're going to get everyone's thoughts. So now this is like at the start of any event that you feel that they're going to be shy. So you're going to play around with techniques. Over a period of time, people will acknowledge that you as a facilitator has brought out that shyness, or at least ensure that the people who are shy are able to come out and put their thoughts. That will give them an one level of confidence, one level of satisfaction that in your event they can speak up. So you as a facilitator is going to gain trust by giving opportunity for people to talk about it. Right. So basically you're going to play around with techniques. So long answer, that's a short answer, but long answer, I gave you some examples. Right. Cool.
Yeah, I think you also covered about the virtual collaboration tools in case if you are not
Okay.
using and able to use sticky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think another question is from Sumalata again. It is about what if the meeting turn into an argument and does not seem to converge or conclude? So, how
Good.
to like tackle that situation? Yeah.
So very, very nice question. This is an obvious thing that is happening. So this is where our working agreements helps. So I'm going to call this as conflict, right? Sort of a conflict that is happening in the room. Your conversation is getting into an argument. This is where you need to be as a on toes as a facilitator. You need to know when to step in, right? So if you remember at the start of the event, I talked about a facilitation mindset, the group focus, and then you being now, this is where you need to work on how as a facilitator, I can understand what is happening in the room. We call this as reading the room, right? I'm going to read the room. I'm going to observe. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to listen everyone's facial reactions, everyone's thoughts. If someone is going to conflict, you're going to observe it. Now, even when there is a conflict, you're going to see how you can options to navigate those things based on the working agreements. Let's take for an example, two people started yelling at each other, the highest level of conflict, they're finger pointing and then they're starting to do some kind of you did this wrong, you did this wrong, some sort of thing is happening. And now this is where you can politely pitch in, hey guys, we're going to hear all your thoughts, right? It looks like we are slowly deviating from our working agreements, which you said we're going to respect everyone's thoughts and then listen to everyone's thoughts, right? We have taken your thoughts. In the interest of time, I'm going to move to a next person intact who's going to come up with another point. We'll come to your points. You cannot solve a conflict during a facilitation then and there, right? But meanwhile, you can navigate that conflict subtly without telling them, hey, shut them, without shutting them down. When you shut them down, hey, don't talk, then they are gonna feel offended. They're not gonna open their mouth, right? You're gonna subtly say that we're gonna come back to your points. We agree to both of you. I've taken both of your points, but looking at the working agreements where we said that we're going to respect each other's thoughts and then subtly put our thoughts. This is like we're moving little deviating from there. So interest of time, I'm going to move to the other person. So you got to navigate that or move the needle. We call it as or navigate this point and then move from there. Right. That's a way to move towards it to handle conflicts. Then when everyone comes up with their thoughts, then you have the points put up there together and then you can again give them a chance to talk about now, hey, we've got so many points from others as well. Now what is their thoughts from you guys? So that way you're giving an opportunity for them to talk again. That's how it is. Yes, I hope that helps.
Yeah. I think there is a term called step up and step down. So, as a facilitator, I think we should step up when there is a long discussion which is going on as part of a working agreement. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so we got a question from Maru. Maru, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Is it me or you may have skipped a couple of slides, slide 3 and the last slide, I think. Sorry. So now there is no slide that is being put up. It is just a
Yeah, so
conversation.
I didn't skip anything, so do not worry. It's there. So I've just given all the slides. Yes, it's more of a prompt. What is facilitation, slide 3 and all? It's more of a prompt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions that I can answer?
Um, no questions yet. Anybody has any questions, you can use a chat or Q&A option, whichever is easier for you to ask.
So someone said they could not see the last slide. Maybe I can just open it up. So this is the last slide that I used to identify some patterns. So basically, yes. So this for start off with second, third slide, fourth slide, fifth slide, sixth slide, and then you have the patterns on the last slide. Yes. And just maybe one thing. So if you want to get deeper immersion into this is the workshop that I run. We call this as ACSCF, Agile Coaching Skill Certificate Facilitator. The entire 2-day program is all about how can I become better facilitator. You'll understand what a facilitator needs to do, what is the mindset that I need to get into, what are the skills that you need to improve inside as a facilitator, what are the techniques I need to learn as a facilitator. These are some of the things that we discuss in a 2-day program. Very extensive discussion, very hands-on. Right? Yeah, I'll take the questions. I'll stop the
I think a
sharing
couple
now.
of people are just typing in. Let's just give it a minute.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the toughest, most challenging types of facilitation situations you have been in?
Okay, so maybe recent past, the toughest facilitation situation that I've been in was in a very large group facilitation that I have to facilitate. There were about 90 people during that facilitation. I thought about doing something, but all of a sudden felt that some intuition that came to my mind that this is not going to work. I was at the stage that I have to facilitate. Then I have to rely back on my instinct and then do a quick group facilitation there. So it's more of self-doubt. I see that's the thing that is the toughest situation that you can get into. So this is what I talked about. I'm talking about working on yourself as a facilitator. How many times are you being in a self-doubt situations? How many times are you put into that? So for that, you need to do a bit more mindfulness practice and then try to get away from the situation. Try not to show that. I just quickly resorted on, hey, I'm going to do a quick group facilitation. I don't know how many of you've heard of this 1, 2, 4 all. I've used that like bread and butter. So every time I use this 1, 2, 4 all technique, so it's like individually people gonna think of. Now what I thought of is like every group is like an individual, like 10 groups. I made it into 20 groups. Every group is an individual. They're gonna come up thought of with that, discuss among themselves. And I made 2 groups discuss among each other. It's like that. I made that 1, 2, 4 all into a big room facilitation. I resorted to that when I had a self-doubt. So using your instinct to resorting back to your known thing in a tougher situation works better. So yeah, that's my piece of recommendation and my experience as well.
Awesome. It's good to know about 1 to 4 technique. Is it like you just tell it in your back of your mind, like 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to just do it. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if you've not encountered this 1, 2, 4 all. This is a liberating structure technique. So I can just quickly explain. So if you're a group of 8, for an example, right? Let's say for an example, now you need to make everyone participate. So what I do is first round is, I'm going to talk about 4 rounds now. First round is 1, which is like individually they're going to write down some thoughts. That's the first round. That's 1, right? Now they've written the thoughts in the first 2 minutes, whatever time box you've given. Next, give 2 or 3 more minutes. Now, from individual, they're going to pair up with someone and they're going to discuss the thought that they've come up with. That's the second round. Now, from 8 thoughts, you're going to give an instruction that individually come up with the thoughts. Now, in the second round of pairing, what you're going to do is you're going to discuss among your peer or pair and then come up with one thought again, which means 2 of you have to discuss and then come up with one thought. Now, next round is 1, 2, 4. Now, from pairs to group of 4. Now, you're going to club 2 pairs and then ask them to come up with one thought again. Now, 2 thoughts again will turn into one thought. Now, group of 8, right? Again, 2 thoughts, bring it as 1 point. So now this is how you're going to make a facilitation from 1 to 4 also. In first round, you made a divergent thoughts, 8 thoughts. Now, after that, you started converging. 8 thoughts into 4 thoughts, 4 thoughts into 2 thoughts, 2 thoughts into 1 thought. So converging, divergent thinking, convergent thinking. 2 patterns I've used it in a single technique, 1, 2, 4 all technique. Go and search for liberatingstructures.com. 1, 2, 4 all technique will be the first technique that you can use. That's a very, very fantastic technique to use.
Yeah, and I think there are other techniques. I think close to
Absolutely.
64 or something is available there.
33 techniques available in liberating structures. You can use any technique that ever you want.
And it's nice to see that you've mapped back to the patterns of conversion and divergent
Exactly.
thinking. So I think Deepa got disconnected and she just wanted to know about ground zone once again, if that
Okay,
is okay
sure.
for you. Yeah.
So grown zone is nothing but Deepa. Let's take for an example, you're in a facilitation in a workshop where you're ideating something or trying to solve a problem. For an example, right? Now you're a group of 6 or 7. Now everyone has participated. Everyone has given their thoughts. Now you try to see if there is any common things that they've come up with. Now you only see two common things, right? And unique things are there are 5 unique things out of the 7 to 8 thoughts. 5 are unique thoughts, right? Now, cool. Now those 5 unique thoughts. Now you're trying to move away from this. Out of 5, you got to take one thing towards decision making. Now, when you try to ask them to pick up one thing that is comfortable for you out of those 5, everyone are rooting to no, no, my idea is great, my idea is great, my idea is great. This solution that will work well for this problem, for this solution. This is the solution. Whatever I gave is going to be the best solution that's going to work. Now, 5 people are rooting to their own solution. This situation, people not agreeing to other solutions, but they are sticking to their own solution, but their conversation still towards solving the problem, the larger problem objective. This is what we call it as a grown zone. Grown zone is where people are safe enough to challenge each other and come up with their own thoughts, right? And they're not able to move away from that zone. That is what grown zone is all about. Now, this is where you can understand that you as a facilitator, you have high level of psychological safety in the room. You are able to give that in the room, which where people are able to come and challenge each other and then give it their thoughts. I hope that helps.
Awesome. So now that you talked about grown zone, about everybody's talking about their own perspectives, there is a question. I'm just going to club both Maru and
Yeah.
Sumalada as one. So Sumalada asked, so as a Scrum Master or as a facilitator, you want to throw your thoughts towards it, how you will refrain from it. That is one. And so Maru is telling, like, have you been a target of some people's frustration while acting as a facilitator? Is someone targeted you as a facilitator, and how did you, recover from that? Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go with the first question. That's an interesting
Yeah.
question. So you have the urge to tell something, right? Let me tell you something. You can be intentional about it. You know what? I, as a facilitator, I'm not going to participate in this thought, but I'm going to put that facilitator hat away, right? And then come and give a point, right? And then I'm going to step back to facilitator hat. So assume that whenever I'm going to give that thought to the people, I am not the facilitator. Is everyone okay with that? Get that permission from the group and then give the thought and then go back to the facilitator hat. So that's the thing that you can use a technique or as a practice to still you have given the thought, but you still stay neutral. So you gave the thought with the permission of the group as well. Right? So that's the thing. What was the second question?
Yeah, it
Uh,
is about have you been a target for someone's frustration?
Absolutely. So I have had a very, very tough situation once in my facilitation where I can tell the real situation where there was a no hike. That was the announcement that this come out. There was so much of frustration coming in, right? And then there was one senior developer who's going out of the organization as well. There is another frustration because team members are so attached to him. Now they have so much of frustration. Now this is where staying neutral helps. You stay as a neutral person. You're going to get everyone's thoughts. You're going to give an opportunity for people to vent out their frustration. If you take sides of the frustration, then they will see you as a biased person, then they will vent at you, right? Now you're going to hear everyone's thoughts. Stay neutral. You know what? I'm also with you guys, right? I'm going to hear everyone's thoughts. Let's get as many thoughts as possible. Now we have got all these thoughts. To move away from one level away from the stress frustrated situation, what is that we can do from our ends? What is that in our hands as a team? Now you're going to use that situation to navigate them towards a solution based on the frustration. Again, resorting to making them participate. You're holding up a visibility as a process to gather everyone's frustration. You've made that visible. Now you got to hold up a process to make them towards a decision making. Now let them take the decision. What is that one thing that you can come up with to get out of the solution? What is that one idea that you have as a group to go move away from so much of frustration thoughts that you've come up with. So that's how you're going to navigate a situation even when you are at target. I hope that helps. So this might look like little hazy for me until you go and try. So trust me and then go and try once and then come and tell me the feedback. I'm open to hear your feedbacks through my LinkedIn, right? Go and try this. Staying as a neutral person, keeping that visibility, and then help them come up with their own solution for the frustration.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that, Arun. So there was a question about the book that you have mentioned. They just want to know the name of it,
It
or
is
if you can paste the link.
Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making. I can paste the link for you guys.
Yeah, that would be great. So meanwhile, there is one more question.
Go on.
So for 1 second, just like, okay, for a PSM, CSM certified professional, how can ACF, I think the facilitator certification that you have talked about, can help? Do we learn any agile thinking there, that facilitator certification?
So you're going to learn facilitative thinking, right? So that's more important as a facilitator. So the problem, okay, let me talk about PSM and CSM. PSM and CSM as a course or a program was built 10 years back, right? That was needed the 10 years back. No one know what is ABC about Scrum. Now, close to so many certified PSM, CSM people are there. I'm not, so everyone have learned Scrum, right? Now, great, we have learned Scrum. We know what is Scrum mastering is all about, but how can I get better at Scrum mastering? These are the workshops, this facilitation skill workshops or coaching skill workshops is going to come up with. That is why Scrum Alliance has taken a lot of survey. What is the real problem that you're facing in the ground? I'm facing in solving conflicts. I'm facing people not able to contribute to the solutions. There are shy people in the room. There are dominating people in the room. There are so much situations that I encounter I could not facilitate better, right? Facilitation course. So you're gonna hone your skill. So Scrum is a knowledge, right? Agile, to work in Agile, you need Scrum as a framework to work on it. So skills, this is a skill that you're gonna hone it. This can be applied in any of the events, Agile events or Scrum events, or not even Agile events or Scrum events. This is very generic as well. Any project manager who has difficulty in facilitating a big events, big meetings, or even small meetings, etc., etc. This is going to help.
Awesome. I think we are also on the top of the hour, but you can take one more question. So what is the required skills to start working as a new Scrum Master?
Topmost skill, facilitator. So even if you're working in a single team, the topmost skill is facilitation skills. You might have heard Scrum Master is a facilitator. Scrum Master is a facilitator. What is a facilitator? You need to go and understand what a facilitator is. That's my first. So maybe if I can go and ask you guys to, maybe if I can show something quickly, right? So let me share that. Yeah, here's the one. Let me share the screen quickly. Are you seeing my screen, everyone?
Yeah.
The Agile Coaching Competency Framework.
Yeah.
So this is the framework that Lisa Atkins gave in 2011, 13 years back. So if any Agile practitioner who's going to start off with, they at least need to know what an Agile or Lean practitioner is. They should know at least one of the framework or practices like Scrum or a Kanban. Then it goes on to the next 4 skills: coaching skills, facilitation skills, mentoring skill, and teaching skill. The first skill, if you're working in a single team, at least a single team Scrum practitioner facilitating. If you're working in if you're handling multiple teams, then comes the other 3 skills, which is teaching. You need to know how to teach people what a certain thing is. You need to mentor people by sharing experiences. Then you do to group professional coaching, right? If you need to get into an enterprise level, then there comes your masteries. Either you need to be get mastery in one of these patterns. Either you're a transformation mastery where you can transform your large group of teams into agile ways of working. We call this agile transformations. Next thing is business mastery. You're going to launch a big product. You're going to help product management people, business mastery. Then you're going to transform technical practices, like you're getting into DevOps transformation or AIOps transformation. You're getting into that. So that's why I said if single team, then facilitation is the first skill that I would ask you to learn. Next thing is probably a mentoring skill, then teaching skill, then coaching skill. Right. I hope that helps.
Okay, cool. I also posted about that Liza Atkins link. You can go ahead and know more about it.
Yeah, cool. So maybe if you could like to put a quick feedback, we'll put the feedback form in the chat or post that as well, so which you can use to give feedback for us. So if you have a minute, I'll just paste a feedback form in a quick. I'll just give me a second.
Okay. So meanwhile, I would like to thank Arun for spending his schedule out of his actual, the teaching facilitation of various training programs. So thank you, Arun, for the insightful insights on facilitation. So when you brought up the definition, so we all thought like, oh, it's more about what the facilitation is all about. Then you have navigated very nicely to facilitation mindset when you all think about agile mindset. So we got a new term called facilitation mindset, and also about the principles and the guidelines and the patterns, how we have to be more insightful about facilitation as a whole. And not to forget the grown zone, that's a new term that we all have learned out of the dear session. So thank you so much for your valuable time, and thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
the participants who have registered and have joined on time. So just check out our Tri Scrum Studios for more sessions.
Yeah.
So we have the weekly sessions which we have been scheduled. So whichever is up for you, you can just register for it and you can join it. With
Thank you.
that
I've
said, I
pasted the
think,
feedback form.
yeah,
You can use that
yeah,
feedback form to give the feedback, and then we can wind up for the day. Thank you.
yeah.